Mother Teresa is a name that echoes across the world, a symbol of love, compassion, and unwavering faith. She dedicated her life to serving the poorest of the poor, becoming a beacon of hope for millions. But what if I told you that behind her radiant smile and tireless work was a hidden darkness, an internal struggle that lasted nearly 50 years? This wasn't just a momentary crisis of faith, but a prolonged period of spiritual desolation, where she felt abandoned by God. Through her personal letters, published in Come Be My Light, a different side of Mother Teresa was revealed, a woman who endured deep spiritual suffering while continuing her mission of love. In today's video, we will dive into this astonishing revelation, exploring her letters, her pain, and what her inner darkness teaches us about faith and perseverance. Stay with us, because by the end, you'll discover how her hidden battle can bring new meaning to your own struggles with faith and doubt. Mother Teresa's story will challenge everything you thought you knew about sainthood and inspire you in ways you didn't expect. Mother Teresa's revelation of nearly 50 years of spiritual darkness shocked the world. But this wasn't just a personal struggle hidden behind her public acts of kindness. It was a profound battle of faith, endured in silence. Despite feeling abandoned by God, she continued to serve the poorest of the poor, offering love and compassion to those who needed it most. Her letters, later compiled in Come Be My Light, paint a picture of a woman who felt the absence of God's presence in a way that few of us could ever imagine. For decades, she experienced what is often called the dark night of the soul, a term used in Christian mysticism to describe a phase of spiritual desolation and abandonment by God. During this time, Mother Teresa could not feel the warmth of God's love or sense His nearness. In one of her letters, she confessed, "I feel just that terrible pain of loss, of God not wanting me, of God not being God, of God not really existing." This dark night started shortly after she began her mission in Calcutta and, remarkably, lasted for nearly 50 years. Mother Teresa's own accounts of her spiritual torment revealed that she felt as if her soul was without faith, without love, without light, experiencing a sense of interior emptiness that many would find unbearable. What led her to this dark night? It began after she experienced what she described as a divine calling. In 1946, while traveling by train from Calcutta to Darjeeling, she had a profound mystical experience where she heard Jesus calling her to leave the comforts of her convent and live among the poor, to serve them as a living embodiment of Christ's love. This was her inspiration for founding the Missionaries of Charity. However, shortly after receiving this extraordinary call, she began to experience what seemed like the opposite. God's presence faded. She no longer felt the intimate connection with God that had been the foundation of her previous spiritual life. This absence became a constant in her life. Despite founding an order that became globally recognized for its selfless service, Mother Teresa described her inner life as one of constant emptiness. She likened it to living in a dry desert, and in one letter wrote, "The silence and the emptiness is so great that I look and do not see, listen and do not hear." What makes this particularly striking is that while she was adored as a living saint by the world, her internal reality was one of intense isolation and spiritual suffering. She continued to pray, serve, and care for the destitute, all while feeling abandoned by the very God she was giving her life to. However, despite the pain, Mother Teresa did not succumb to despair. What makes her story remarkable is how she overcame this darkness, not by eliminating it, but by embracing it as part of her faith journey. She believed that her suffering allowed her to unite more deeply with Christ, who himself cried out on the cross, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Matthew 27, verse 46. In this sense, Mother Teresa saw her spiritual darkness as a way to experience the suffering of Christ, and through this solidarity, she found a way to transform her own emptiness into love for others. Even though she could not feel God's love for her, she could still act as a conduit of His love for those in need. Her perseverance is perhaps the most extraordinary part of her spiritual journey. Mother Teresa did not allow her feelings of abandonment to hinder her mission. Instead, she made a conscious decision to continue her work, not based on emotion or consolation, but on sheer faith and will. This is where her concept of faith deepened into something extraordinary. She continued to trust God, even when she felt nothing in return. In her letters, she reflected that her suffering made her more compassionate towards the poor because she could now understand their sense of loneliness, rejection, and loss. Her darkness, therefore, became a source of strength, not only for herself, but also for the countless people she served. Mother Teresa's ability to overcome this spiritual trial lay in her steadfastness. She maintained her daily prayers, sacraments, and service, all while acknowledging her inner suffering. She was transparent about her struggle with her spiritual directors, yet she never wavered in her mission. Over time, she came to view her dark night as a gift from God. In one of her final reflections, she stated that this darkness allowed her to share in the passion of Christ, experiencing a form of crucifixion of the heart that drew her closer to his suffering. She accepted this as her personal cross, one that purified her faith and enabled her to love others more deeply, even in the absence of feeling God's love for herself. Mother Teresa's story of the dark night of the soul is a profound lesson for anyone going through spiritual struggles. It shows that faith is not always accompanied by joy or peace. Sometimes, it is forged in the fires of doubt, loneliness, and silence. Her life exemplifies that true faith persists even when the soul feels barren. For Mother Teresa, the absence of God's presence didn't negate her belief in him, it deepened it. Through her dark night, she taught us that faith is not about constant spiritual consolation, but about choosing to believe and act in love, even when God seems distant. This leads to perhaps the most profound lesson of all. Mother Teresa's spiritual desolation, far from being a weakness, became her greatest strength. Her ability to serve, love, and sacrifice without feeling God's presence is what makes her story so compelling. It speaks to every one of us who has ever felt distant from God or questioned our own faith. It reminds us that true faith isn't about feeling God every day. It's about trusting in his plan, even when we cannot understand it. Mother Teresa's story forces us to ask ourselves, how do we respond when we don't feel God's presence? Do we give up, or do we, like her, press on in faith, knowing that he is still with us even in silence? Her journey teaches us that faith is not about being constantly filled with spiritual consolation. It's about trusting in God's plan, even when we don't understand it. So, the next time you find yourself in a period of spiritual dryness, remember Mother Teresa. Remember her hidden suffering and the extraordinary strength it took for her to continue, not just for days or months, but for nearly 50 years. If she could do that, perhaps we too can find the strength to persevere in our darkest moments, knowing that God is still at work, even when we cannot see or feel him. Mother Teresa's story is not just about her struggle. It's a story of hope, resilience, and unwavering faith. Her life challenges us to reconsider what true faith looks like and how we can live it out, even in the darkest of times. If her story has touched you today, share it with someone who might be struggling with their own faith journey. And before you go, don't forget to like, comment, share, and most importantly, subscribe to our channel. If you don't subscribe, you might never come across this channel again. We don't want you to miss out on our next content that could inspire or uplift you just when you need it most. If you've already subscribed, congratulations on taking another step in your spiritual growth. We are so glad you're part of this journey with us. By liking, commenting, and sharing this video, you help us reach more people who are seeking hope, guidance, and the deep mysteries of faith. You're making a real difference, as the algorithm will push our content to those who need to hear and watch it the most. So stay tuned, keep coming back, and don't miss the next story that might just speak directly to your heart. Together, we'll continue to explore and learn how to trust God, even when the way is uncertain. May God bless you, and see you in just a few days for another powerful story.